How old are you?
36.
So you don't really remember the last big inflationary period, right?
The 70s.
In the 70s
Well, I've
and
studied
early
it, but
80s.
I don't remember it. Yes.
Yeah. What's your big fear of what might go wrong in the current moment? Because, we're governed by people who, many of whom were in power in the 70s. You know, somebody like Joe Biden was in the Senate. What is your biggest fear about the current moment where we're seeing inflation really kind of kick into high gear?
So in my studies of monetary history, I think inflation and ultimately hyperinflation, these are some of the worst events human beings can go through. It's a total collapse in trust in society. And you could know this intuitively if you just take a 24-hour window in your life and mentally list how many times you think about money, you think through money, you deal in money, you transact. We're so immersed in it, we forget to see how ubiquitous it is. But if you actually take note of it, and then imagine if money failed, how many people could you actually cooperate with? It becomes a very small circle of trust, right?
And even with inflation, there's the kind of Weimar Republic style stuff of hyperinflation. But even if at the end of every day, you start with $10 and you end up with $8 at the end of the day.
The Weimar Republic hyperinflation is just the crescendo.
Yeah.
Right. It's this long song of debasement that just culminates in the hyperinflation when things get really ugly. Right. People get extremely desperate or reduced to barbarity, effectively. And in my studies of monetary history, I think inflation is this almost like a spiritual cancer, actually. Like it rips society apart. It divides people. It induces bad behavior, right? When you're trying to outpace inflation, you're just trying to hold money, be a saver.
Right.
You can't even be prudent. You can't be conservative. You have to now take additional risk to outperform the implicit theft in your money. So it gives people a proclivity to gamble, to deceive, to rent seek, all these negative coercive behaviors that freedom maximalism stands against.
What in your reading, what's the basic cause of inflation?
The basic cause. Well, now I need to clearly define this because a lot of people say, "Oh, what do you mean? Netflix is $7 and it's not going up in price." People tend to think price inflation, or worse yet, CPI, right? Consumer price inflation, which the government says is the number. First of all, if you study economics, you'll know that you cannot have a universal metric for inflation. It's as subjective as value itself, actually. What are the things you're trying to buy?
Right.
You're trying to buy, real estate in Hamptons, your inflation rate's 50% the past 2 years. If you're trying to buy Doritos, it's 2%. So I define inflation as any arbitrary expansion of a fiat currency supply within the aegis of a legal monopoly, a specific central bank. So when there's one group of people that can arbitrarily control P, increase the money supply, they can use that to confiscate wealth from all of those that cannot, that are depending on the dollar or fiat currency to hold its value. So it's purely and simply a mechanism for wealth transfer that's involuntarily imposed on people. In other words, theft.